In this lecture, we're going to begin retrieving the player's saved data from their file system. As usual, there are a set of methods for performing this action from the player prefs class. To get started, open the player controller component. Scroll to the start method. In this method, we left off with a conditional statement. If the player has saved data, we can use the data to set the player's stats. In this conditional block, replace the print statement with the health component .healthPoints variable. We're going to set it to the player prefs .getFloat method. This method returns a float value from the player's saved data. We must provide the name of the key. In this example, we're setting the player's health. This information was saved under the name health. The process for grabbing the other values is going to be similar to grabbing the player's health. There are methods for grabbing each type of value from the file system. For example, let's set the health component .potionCount variable to the player prefs .getInt method. As you might suspect, the getInt method returns integer values. Let's grab the potions key. Next, set the combat component .damage variable to the player prefs .getFloat method. The name of the key was called damage. There's one more piece of information to grab, which is the weapon. In the previous lecture, the weapon was saved as an integer, so let's set the weapon variable to the player prefs .getIntWeapon method. This line of code produces an error. It's the same reason as before. The weapon variable expects the value to be a member of the weapon's enum. However, we're supplying it with an integer. We must convert the integer back into an enum. Luckily, this process is familiar to us. We can typecast the value. C# handles the rest. Typecast the value into the weapon's enum. This should fix the error. We're almost finished. If the player doesn't have data on their system to set these variables, we should use the information from the player stats scriptable object. Add an else block. Below this conditional block, we're already using the information from the scriptable object. Let's move these variables into the else block. As for the other lines of code, they can remain where they are. The event should be raised after the stats have been configured. Same for setting the weapon. Time to test our work. Head over to Unity. In Unity, try playing the game. Initially, the stats from the previous save should have been applied. However, you may be unable to tell since we haven't tried fighting enemies. I'm going to complete the quest in our game. Next, I'm going to walk through the portal. If we did everything right, the bonus health, bonus potions, and new weapon should be applied to the next level. Voila! Our stats have been carried over from level to level. Instead of holding an axe, I'm holding the sword. Saving data works, but what about new games? I'm going to stop the game. From time to time, you may want to clear the saved data from the system. This action is entirely possible with code. However, Unity has a shortcut for quickly deleting data from a user's system. In the menu, navigate to the Edit menu. At the bottom of this menu, there's an option for clearing all player prefs. We can select this option to clear the player's saved data. I'm going to do so. Next, I'll try playing the game. As you can see, my stats have been reset. I'm holding an axe instead of a sword. Our game works whether the player has saved data or not. In the next lecture, let's load the correct scene when the game is started from the main menu.